The regent of Yugoslavia, Prince Paul, is a classic victim of circumstance. Trapped between a rock and a hard place, he will be forced to enter into an alliance that goes against his own beliefs and be seen as a traitor by one and all. But does he really have any choice? Welcome to another World War II in real-time biography special, where I take a closer look at the major or interesting figures of the war. I'm Indy Neidell. Paul is born in St. Petersburg in 1893, a member of the Karađorđević dynasty that rules over Serbia and later Yugoslavia when it is established after the Great War. He enjoys a world of privilege from a young age. He goes to university in England, attending Christ Church College at Oxford. There, he joins the notorious Bullingdon Club, an exclusive dining society known for its riotous banquets, vandalism, and members drawn from the highest echelons of society. Paul's time in England makes him a lifelong Anglophile, and he will often say that he is an Englishman at heart. When he marries Princess Olga of Greece and Denmark in 1923 in Belgrade, the future British king, George VI, is Paul's best man. He leads the next decade of his life pretty uneventfully, but his life will change dramatically in October 1934. On the 9th, his cousin, Yugoslavian King Alexander I, arrives in Marseille, France, on a state visit. France has been intent on keeping the Little Entente, an alliance between Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Yugoslavia, alive because it helps to contain German aggression. However, the trip is cut short that very day when Alexander and French Foreign Minister Louis Batu are killed in a separatist plot, in one of the first assassinations caught on film. Now this rocks the world, threatening Yugoslavian stability and the Little Entente. Alexander's son, Prince Peter, is not yet 18, so cannot be king, and it falls to Prince Paul to assume the regency and rule over the troubled kingdom until Peter's 18th birthday in September 1941. But upon taking the regency, Prince Paul finds himself torn between just holding the throne for Peter or intervening in national affairs, chiefly the perpetual tension between the Serb and Croat populations. Alexander had hoped to solve this issue, but his solution was creating a strongly centralized dictatorship which forced a singular Yugoslav identity on his people. Paul is much more democratically minded than his late cousin and thinks a conciliatory approach is possible. On June 23, 1935, he appoints Milan Stojadinović as prime minister. To solve the dire economic situation Yugoslavia has found itself in since the Great Depression hit, which also exacerbated Croat and Serb tensions. Stojadinović has strong fascist tendencies, though, and is convinced that the solution lies in closer economic ties with Germany, whose demand for agricultural products and raw materials could provide a much-needed economic stimulus for Yugoslavia. This means that under Paul, Yugoslavia is drifting closer into the German zone of influence. But with his personal sympathies lying in Western Europe, he's trying to maintain good relations with Britain, France, and the Little Entente. Stojadinović has been pursuing a policy of rapprochement with Italy, but the French connection counters any potential Italian aggression around the Adriatic Sea. However, France and Britain are increasingly falling into a pattern of appeasement with Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Their inaction over the Abyssinian crisis in 1935 leads Paul to believe that small states are little more than bargaining chips to the Western powers. Things look even less promising when Hitler remilitarizes the Rhineland in March 1936, significantly weakening France's ability to do something if Hitler pushes eastward towards, say, Yugoslavia. The Munich crisis in 1938 only confirms Paul's worst fears when France and Britain pressure Czechoslovakia into ceding the entire Sudetenland to Germany. The committed Anglophile has to accept that his friends might be willing to sell him down the river. He resolves to keep his country on a path of strict neutrality. He fires the fascist-friendly Stojadinović in early February 1939 and replaces him with Dragiša Cvetković. But then he also rejects the British, who have now finally woken up to Hitler's war aims after Germany occupies the rest of Czechia in March 1939, and their overtures of a collective security arrangement in the Balkans. he accepts an invitation to Berlin in June 1939, where Hitler pushes him to take Yugoslavia out of the League of Nations and join the anti-Comintern Pact. Paul remains firm, however, telling Hitler he's happy to cooperate with Germany as a peaceful state, but not as an ally. He leaves Berlin knowing war is imminent and suspicious that Hitler is looking to form an alliance with the Soviet Union. On the invitation of his best man, King George VI, Paul travels to Britain in July. He likewise assures the British that he is friendly to them, but keeps to the neutrality line. He also tells the government there of his suspicions about a Nazi-Soviet alliance, but no one takes it very seriously. Meanwhile, he's working to ensure internal stability in Yugoslavia itself. In August, he and Cvetković allowed the Croats to form an autonomous province with its own legislature, budget, and control over internal affairs. This causes anger among Serbs, Slovenes, Bosnian Muslims, but it does at least mean the domestic scene is more consolidated. And then, when war breaks out in September, Paul continues his struggle to keep Yugoslavia neutral. The kingdom is encircled by Germany, Italy, and a collection of other states increasingly falling into the Axis sphere of influence. Paul knows that Yugoslavia might have to fight soon, but he does everything he can to buy time to rearm. As the war goes on, the Axis powers become impatient. Germany wants to secure Yugoslavian cooperation and have it join the Tripartite Pact for Hitler's planned invasion of Greece. Paul is invited to Germany again, this time to Hitler's Berghof residence in the Alps. He arrives there on March 4th, 1941, and it soon becomes clear that he has little choice left. On March 20th, back in Belgrade, Paul and much of his cabinet agree to Yugoslavia joining the Tripartite Pact. Paul closes the meeting by revealing that doing so goes against his deepest beliefs, but he cannot take his country into a war against Germany it will surely lose. On March 25th, Yugoslavia signs the Tripartite Pact. Yugoslav sovereignty is guaranteed if German and Italian forces can march across its borders. The decision is hugely controversial both at home and abroad. And then, elements of the Yugoslav armed forces launch a coup on March 27th to force Paul from power and reverse the pact. The extremely idealistic coup, the coup leaders thought that Hitler would not consider them bound to the Axis, lasts just a few days, since Hitler decides to just invade Yugoslavia along with Greece. That invasion lasts a week, and Paul's lands are occupied and partitioned. Paul flees the country. He will spend the rest of the war under British house arrest in Kenya. Many in Britain will consider this Anglophile a traitor, especially Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who refuses Paul a visit to England to see his ailing friend, the Duke of Kent, before he dies. The post-war communist authorities in Yugoslavia will also denounce Paul as a traitor and bar him from returning to the country. He will eventually die in Paris in 1976. Signing a pact with the Nazis will lead to history condemning you. But did Paul really have any choice? Yugoslavia could not fight a war with the German and Italian war machines, and the Allies did little to assure him that they could offer any protection, which they in fact could not. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, Paul had to betray his own personal beliefs to try to protect his country. It's difficult to see what else he could have done. If you'd like to learn more about Yugoslavian history before the outbreak of World War II, including the assassination of Alexander, then you're in luck. We made 3 episodes on that country over on our Time Ghost channel in our Between Two Wars series. You can click on the first one right here. You can also click on subscribe if you have not done so to never miss an exciting episode. See you next time.